If you want some coins for the new Road to the Final promo, check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get 5% off your order. This supports the channel greatly, and I do very much appreciate it. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some updated 4222 custom tactics and player instructions for you, but just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, so that does really help with the YouTube search. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. Okay guys, so starting off with the custom tactics. For the defensive style, I like to use balance. This is because it gives us the greatest control over our defense when we're able to press when we need to press, and then we're able to be more conservative when we need to drop off a little bit. So balance does give us the great control that we need. That being said, if you feel more comfortable using pressure tactics, that is absolutely fine. Now moving on to the defensive width, I currently use this on 40. This is because it's important that we cover the central areas primarily, but at the same time we still have a bit a natural coverage of the wings for when our opponents try and run down those areas. So we're able to stay compact in the middle, but we're also able to reach the reach the wings when we need to. Now moving on to the depth guys, I currently have this on 55. This is so our defensive line isn't so far back that we always get pinned back, and at the same time it's not too high to the point where we're always getting through balled. So 55 depth has been working really well for me. Now moving on to build up play guys, I suggest using balance. The reason for this is it gives you the greatest control of your attack, and it stops your players moving too quickly or too slowly. Fast build up can be okay when the gameplay is good, but it very rarely is, so I do suggest using balanced. Now moving on to chance creation guys, I suggest using direct passing. This is because if you look at the diagram in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you can see the white dots which your attackers dynamically moving around in the correct motions to break through the defensive line. If you look at something like balance, this doesn't happen. Everyone's very static, so it's very difficult to create chances, which is why direct passing is very good. Some people like forward runs, but I'm not a big fan. That being said, if you do like using forward runs, then go right ahead. Now for the attacking width, I'm currently using this on 45. This is so our attack is not too wide, but at the same time it's not narrow to the point where our players are sitting on top of each other. So having the width on 45 means it doesn't play like a 4-2-4, but at the same time our players aren't super close together. So it's a nice balance and it is quite effective. Moving on to players in box, I currently have this on 6. This is so we can get players into the box to create chances, of course, but at the same time we don't overcommit our entire team to the point where we get counter attack. So it's a nice balance and I do enjoy using this on 6. As for corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because I don't really cross from set pieces anymore. I take them short because I have a corner kick glitch which you guys can check out in the top right hand corner of the screen if you like, and yeah, that's why I have my corners and free kicks on 1. Now for the players you want to use guys in the 2 striker positions, I suggest going for a bit of a balance between the 2, where I have one more of a poacher striker in Robbie Keane, someone that's going to finish off all those chances, and then I have one more creative player in Jerzinho in the other striker position. This is to give us a greater dynamic between the 2, and it stops us being as predictable. If we use 2 lengthy strikers that can only finish a ball, it's very one-dimensional and you can only really play through balls, so that's why we do that. As for the right cam and the left cam, I suggest using winger style players that are quick, players that are agile, players that can cross, shoot, pass, basically do a bit of everything. You want to use those good winger style players in these positions. You don't want to use those clunky players, otherwise you will find it difficult to create any chances, as these are your main playmakers. Now in the left CDM spot, I suggest going for a more defensive minded CDM. This is somebody that's going to stay back and break up the play and add defensive support, and if you can get it, a medium high work rate is super beneficial as you get the maximum contribution in defense and they're not too bothered about attack. Moving on to the right CDM, I suggest going for a more well-rounded player, somebody that can play almost like a box-to-box. So I'm using the flashback Pogba. He's got very well-rounded stats, which means he's good in attack and defense. And if you can get it, a high work rate is super good as you get the maximum contribution in the attack and the defense. But for example, this Pogba is a high medium and he still works fine. Now moving on to the left back and the right back, I like to go for a bit of a balance between the 2, where I have Roberto Carlos, who is a bit more technical on the left hand side, somebody that can add attacking support, and then I have Cafu, who's a bit more defensive minded and is going to add defensive security. This is just a preference thing, but I like to have a balance between the two. But if you guys want to use 2 attacking fullbacks or 2 defensive fullbacks, that's completely up to you. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, these just need to be as good as you can possibly get them. Now, moving on to the player instructions, guys. On the left striker, I have stay central, get in behind and come back on defence. The reason we have him on stay central is so he's always staying in the central areas where a striker should be. We have him on getting behind because this is the more poacher striker. We want him to get in behind so he's always getting into the best positions to finish off those chances. And we also have him on come back on defence because this isn't even a defensive move. It just means when we win the ball back, our team is closer together, which means the build-up play is better and more effective. If you have them on basic defensive support, sometimes they feel very disconnected from the rest of the team, and building up the play is actually very difficult. Now, moving on to the right striker, we have stay central, mixed attack and come back on defence. Stay central is for the exact same reason as the left striker, where we need him to be in the central areas as the wings are already covered. We have him on mixed attack because we don't just want this player running in behind. Since he can be a more creative player, sometimes we want him to sit a little bit deeper to help build up the play, and he could even sit a little bit deeper to play a through ball into the Keane that is running in behind. And again, we have him on come back on defence as a attacking move actually, so when we win the ball back, build up play is a lot more effective. Now, moving on to the cams, guys, both the right cam and the left cam, we have come back on defence and get into the box for cross. Now, we have them on getting to the box for cross because by having them on getting to the box for cross, it means they will make the transitional runs into the penalty box to get more involved. If you have them on balanced crossing runs, sometimes they're a little bit too passive. They don't get involved in the attacks and they're not very effective when you are in the penalty area. So getting to the box for cross means they will be getting involved as much as possible. Comeback on defense is kind of for the same reason as the 2 strikers, where when we win the ball back, the build-up play is going to be a lot better as the team is a lot more well-shaped and closer together, so we can get up the pitch as a team. That is why we have them both on comeback on defense. Now, for the left CDM, guys, we have stay back while attacking and cover center. This is the more defensive player, so we want him to stay back because he's not meant to go forward. He's meant to help us defend, which is why we have him on stay back. And we have him on cover center, so he's always covering those central areas because we don't need any more players covering the wing, as on this side we've already got Roberto Carlos and Di Maria. Now, for the right CDM, guys, the more box-to-box style player, we have him on cover center and then we leave everything else alone. Cover center is important again because when he is defending, we need him to cover those central areas, as again, we don't need him to cover the wing. And then we leave everything else alone because he's meant to be a box-to-box player. He's meant to have that freedom where he's going to help us defend and attack, so we don't like to restrict him all that much. Now, moving on to the left back, my more attacking fullback, we have balanced attack and overlap. The reason we do this is because the 4-2-2-2, it will be a slightly wider formation than, let's say, the 4-1-2-1-2. It's still a narrow formation, so sometimes we need to get that extra width, which is why it helps to commit one of the fullbacks forward with the overlap run type. This is so we can add extra width to the attack and have a wider option as well as a narrow option. Now, on the right back, my more defensive fullback, we have stay back while attacking and overlap. This is so he stays back while default, so we always at least have a back 3. And then let's say I do trigger a run forward with him when I want to send him forward, he will make the overlapping runs to add extra width instead of running narrow. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, I completely leave them alone, guys. So yeah, they are my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-2-2-2. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.